Oh, it feels so wrong cutting off that song. I was rocking out over here. I'm going to give everybody one more minute to get financial aid questions in. We are just hoping to collect as many questions as you all have in preparation for the webinar next month. I know that earlier this month, back on October 5th, it was your responsibility to watch the MIFA webinar. And so I'm sure for many of you that sort of got your brains turning from a financial aid perspective. So any questions that are floating in your mind related to how colleges calculate financial aid awards, how to pay for college, anything like that, please put your questions either in the chat or privately to one of us. I know I've gotten a few already, so we'll give you another 30 seconds or so. All right, thank you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see that participant number nice and high tonight. We're so glad that you're here. This is going to be a busy night. You're going to hear my voice a lot, but hopefully everybody feels like this is a really productive use of time. Before we do jump in on our big topic of tonight, which is the Common Application, we do have 3 quick reminders, general T2 reminders. So the first reminder that we have is just that coming up on November 2nd is another early release day, and we would really love for you all to use that time to visit a college, just like you had done earlier in October. We know that many of you went on visits and found it very productive. So we are hoping that you all will use that day again. And Ms. Garrity or Ms. Hannenberger in the chat will put the college visit options document that was. So if you are wanting to make a visit but not sure where to go, it's a great document to start with. One thing to know is that the visits, and many of you might have actually faced this in October, is that those visits do fill up. Many colleges are capping the number of students on their tours and in the info sessions because of COVID. So please make sure to sign up soon. All right, the second reminder that I have is just, again, sort of going back to financial aid. If you didn't get a chance to watch the MIFA webinar earlier this month, we really recommend that you do that. It is especially helpful for those students and families and maybe mentors going through the financial aid process for the first time. And if you did find that webinar helpful, MIFA has a ton of really good resources. And so we will put the MIFA link into the chat right now as well. And then lastly, the last reminder I have is mostly for students. If you have a November 15th admissions deadline, your transcript request forms are due by this Friday, October 22nd. So again, if your first admissions deadline is November 15th, this Friday, your transcript request forms need to be in. And as a reminder, the transcripts are requested through My School Bucks. And there are instructions for how to complete that in a document that we have. And so that will also now appear in the chat. Any questions about the reminder, any general T2 programming questions? You can use the raise hand function if you do, it might be helpful. Okay, I think we're good. I think everyone's ready for some Common App. So the plan for tonight is to take the next hour or so to cover some in the Common App that do pertain to every student. And the hope that we have is that no matter where you're at in the process, that this will be helpful. We know that some of you are just about ready to submit applications, and this can be a really good time to double check that things are correct and verify that, you know, every section is complete. You have those green check marks. And for those of you that are just beginning the process, this is a great time to really just get some stuff done and feel good leaving this meeting. We do know Everybody's in very different points. And just again, reassurance that wherever you're at right now is perfect for you. Okay, this is your process. If you feel like, oh my gosh, people are submitting applications, I haven't yet, that's okay. Your process is different than theirs and vice versa. So just remember that this is your process, you are driving it, and we are all here to support you. So here is a rundown of what we're going to be covering tonight. We are going to have everybody log into the Common App, and I'm going to address the education section, the activity section, the writing and additional information sections, the college specific questions, and if any time left at the end will be dedicated to breakout rooms. And if you have any questions while I'm presenting tonight, please use the chat function. Ms. Garrity and Ms. Hannenberger will be able to answer questions in live time. And if it's a question that we feel like is important for the whole group to hear, I'll have Ms. Hannenberger and Ms. Garrity interrupt me and we'll address it for the full group. So please don't be afraid to ask questions. You also can raise your hand, that's fine too. I really want this to be productive for people. All right, so students, I'd like to give you 60 seconds or so to please log into your Common App and then give me a thumbs up once you're in. For the mentors here tonight, your role is to sit back and listen. We want you to be taking it all in. And that way you'll be able to assist your mentor as your mentee as needed later. I know for many of you, you've heard this presentation a few times. And so, hopefully it'll just be a good refresher. So mentors, soak it in, ask questions, and mentees, seen a lot of thumbs ups. Scroll through everybody. All right, so now that you are logged into your Common App, you should all be seeing the 5 tabs at the top of the page. The dashboard, which will provide you a summary of your Common App activity and highlights any upcoming deadlines. It does provide you a nice little clock when you have a deadline approaching, so that can be helpful. The My Colleges tab, which will bring you to the school-specific questions offered by each individual school that you add to your Common App. The third tab, okay, I'm so sorry, I just got a pop-up notification. The Common App tab, which brings you to your main Common App application that gets sent to every school. So that third tab in is arguably one of the most important ones because again, that's the information going everywhere. The College Search tab, which will allow you to add schools onto your Common App. And then lastly, the Financial Aid Resources tab, which provides some good links and information to general financial aid resources. But one of the really nice things that it does is if you scroll partway down the page, it's really kind of closer to the bottom, to be honest, you'll see a section that says apply for financial aid. And there you'll find the links to the individual financial aid websites for each college that you've added onto your Common App. It's just a really nice way to have a direct link to the financial aid pages. So certainly, check that out. Again, it's about 3/4 of the way down on that Financial Aid Resources tab. All right, so I would like for everybody to click on the Common App tab, so that third one in. And this is where you will be spending the majority of your time. Anything that you report in this section will be sent to all of your schools. So basically anything you put in this tab within this section should not be college specific. You should not refer to any specific schools. And here you'll see that there are 7 different sections over on the left in the gray menu: profile, family, education, testing, activities, writing, and courses and grades. Once you complete all the required fields within a given section, you'll see a green check mark appear to the left of the word. On my screen, you'll see that the activities section has that green check mark. So that means I must have done a really good job and completed my activities list. The first 6 sections, so profile through writing, are required for everybody. And the courses and grades section is only required if a message pops up underneath it that says a certain number of colleges require it. So again, you can see on my screen that says 2 colleges require. So that means 2 of my schools need me to complete the courses and grades section. Basically, if the number's 1 or higher there, you have to complete the section. If the courses and grades section, if it says 0 colleges require, there is no need to do that section. It does not benefit you at all. To be honest, it takes up a ton of time. So please do not complete that unless you have required colleges. For many of you, that will be 0. So don't be surprised if it's a 0, that's okay. Now I would like for everybody to click into the education section on your own Common App. And everybody, when you first hit that education section, you should have Newton North High School listed as your most recent secondary or high school. So make sure that you have Newton North listed. Now I'd like for everyone to scroll down and select the grade section like you can see on my screen here. Here, everybody should list 540 as the graduating class size. And also please report none for class rank reporting. I'll give you all a second to do that. So just under that class rank reporting, you will see that there's a section for GPA reporting. Please make sure that your Common App looks just like mine does. You'll see it's not a required field. Students at Newton North High School this year do not have a cumulative calculated GPA. And this is because, as you all know, you have had 3 different grading systems in your high school career. That's a lot. And so there's basically no way to calculate a cumulative GPA. 9th and 12th grade, you all used the A to F pluses and minuses system. 10th grade was that same system, but then switched to pass fail in March 2020. And 11th grade was the grading system was A, B, P, and F. So there's no way to make a GPA, a cohesive GPA, cumulative GPA that makes any sense. Therefore, we do want this to be blank. And I do think it's important as we talk about GPA, because I think there is a lot of talk, especially at Newton North, if students get really obsessed with their GPA and it feels really important to them, to just, provide some reassurance that even though you aren't reporting a cumulative GPA, the colleges will still see your yearly GPAs and a description of what it means on your transcript in the school profile that's going to get sent to all of your colleges. In addition, the majority of colleges will recalculate a cumulative GPA on their own scale anyway. So leaving this section blank is not going to be a disadvantage to anybody. And I do want to just open it up for questions. I know there's been, in a lot of my individual meetings with students, there's been a lot of talk of GPA. So I do want to allow people to ask questions about this as needed. All right, let's crank. All right, so that's enough for the grades. Now I want you to look a little bit further down. So 2 sections down, and you'll see that there's an honors section. And a very common question is, what do I put in this honors section of the Common App? And many students actually think that it's a place to list honors classes that they have taken. And that is so the answer to that is no, do not list your honors classes here. This section is actually used to highlight any academic awards or honors you might have received at the school, state, national, or international levels. And so I do just want to show you some examples of things that Newton North High School students have included in their honors sections in the past. And so please see this. For some students, this might trigger your brain to be like, oh yeah, I did receive a junior book award. Oh yeah, I did receive an art award. And then one interesting thing that the students might see on here that they're like, huh, is that the first bullet, NNHS honor roll or high honor roll. You are allowed to list this on your application. So for any given year you received all A's, you are allowed to list an NHS High Honor Roll. And for any year that you received A's and B's, you may list an NHS Honor Roll. So take a look at this, all the students. And I do also just want to emphasize that there are many students who don't have anything to list in this section. And there are very few students who use the 5 allotted spots. So this is a very, very unique section to each individual student and what you've done in high school. And don't feel badly if you don't have much to share here. That is totally okay. And you are not alone. So just know that, again, everyone is different. So I'll leave this up on the screen for another minute. All right, so that's it for the education section. And now I would like for all the students to click onto the activities section on the left menu, so in that gray menu, and take a look up here. And I want to go through some of the best practices for how to utilize this activity section. To begin, I just sort of want to say and sort of emphasize how important this section is to your application and how you really should take the time to approach it with thought and with detail. When college admissions officers and representatives are looking at your applications, they'll spend a significant amount of time looking at your activities. They want to see what you do outside of the classroom, how you choose to spend your time, what sort of things you like to do, how do you keep busy. So it is an incredibly important part of the holistic admissions review process at most schools. And in this activity section, you should list anything that you've been involved with from grades 9 to 12. You know, I think some people think, well, I only did that for a year, I shouldn't list it, but there really is value in showing things that you even only did for a year, because this shows the colleges that you're up for trying new things. And also for many of you, things were discontinued or changed because of COVID. So don't let that deter you from putting things on your activities list. And there's also, just like listing something you did for 1 year shows you're up for trying new things. It's also, important to show things that you've showed a lot of commitment to. So things you've done every single year for multiple hours a week, because what the colleges get from that is dedication. So, they interpret things sort of differently based on how you present the information. It's also really, really important to note any family responsibilities that you might have. I know, especially for, a lot of students here, that, you spend a lot of time and you dedicate a lot of time to your family. It's a huge responsibility that you have every single day. And for many of you, I know that ramped up during COVID. So, please make sure to know that there is a family responsibility section as well. So when you are entering these activities, there's a section where you are supposed to please describe your activity, including what you accomplished and any recognition you received. The most challenging part of these activities is, as many of you know that have already started this, is that it allows you to enter 150 characters. That is not much. And a lot of you, have some really awesome activities that we want to explain and really showcase. So it is hard to be succinct. So here are some suggestions on how to best describe your activities in that section. So the first one is just using action verbs to describe what you actually did. And so you can see the example up here, worked at a clinic doing different things. That's a little bit vague. And the suggestion below, try, organize patient diagnosis notes, sterilize tools for surgery, assisted with x-ray analysis. That's much more detailed and really paints the picture of what that student did at the clinic. Next is to fit in more information, use lists, don't use complete sentences and cut extra words. There really is no need to use complete sentences. It's your application, so you don't need to say, I did this, because it's obviously you. So again, the example given up on the screen, I raised money to donate to a school in Ghana and Africa by selling t-shirts and bracelets, arranged advertising events, organized fundraisers, and gave presentations at school meetings. Much more detailed. Make sure you use strong and varied verbs when describing responsibilities. Don't be afraid to look up synonyms on Google. I have a lot of students that have done that. Use a thesaurus to come up with different verbs. It really can help make a difference. And one thing too with the verbs is anytime you can highlight leadership, so using the word lead is always great, or serve as a role model, things where you are really showing that you are a good leader. That's always perceived well. The next thing with the verbs is just using the present tense if it's something you're still doing. So if you check that 12 box that you're still doing it as a senior, use present tense verbs. If it's something you did in the past, so 9, 10, 11, but not 12, use past tense verbs. And then lastly, if there isn't much to say or it's a one-time event, express the significance of the activity. To whom did it matter and why? So again, the example on the screen, rather than just tutored students, provided support to fourth graders with particularly difficult math concepts. So highlighting the purpose of the event. I met with a student recently who was a summer camp counselor, and she also wanted to go into education. And so what we did in her activities list for a description was we said something along the lines of like, pursued my passion of working with students by leading camp activities, etc. So she's tying in what her passion is. So just giving a little more detail about yourself in there as well. This is a great thing for mentors, I think, to help the mentees with, in terms of word choice, organization, consistent grammar. Again, this section is super, super important. And because we are all together tonight, I thought it would be a good time to add the activity that we all share in common onto your Common App. So you'll see that I'm providing exactly what you should enter into each section of your activity of transitioning together. So for all the students, I hope you're in your Common App. I'm going to leave this up on the screen, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to add transitioning together to your activities list. And if you have questions about it or are confused, again, use the chat or raise your hand. All right, I'll give you all a moment. One very common question that I get with activities is the hours per week. What if it's really varied? That happens sometimes. Transitioning together might be actually a good example of that, where one week you do 1 hour and another week you do 8 hours. And you have to just estimate and sort of average the amount of time you spend. So it won't be perfect, but that's the only way to handle it. There's no other way to describe the time. So if it's sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 8 hours, perhaps list 4 or 5 hours. I'll give you one more minute. All right, I think we will move forward. This is just showing how it looks on your Common App itself. So that's where you all were entering this information. All right, so the last thing that we're going to talk about here are some of the writing opportunities on the Common App. And I know, we've sent along a ton of resources related to writing the college essay, and many of you are done with this, which is great, or many of you are in the editing phase, which is also great. But just a few things that I want you to continue to keep in mind as you're writing and editing. Your Common App personal essay to tell them what your application can't or isn't. So tell them something new that isn't anywhere else in your application. Tell a story. Opening with a story is always a great way to start your essay. Put yourself in the school's position. How would they interpret your essay? So I think that's a really important one. Like, what are they learning from you? And what will you contribute to their campus? These are the questions that they're asking themselves when they read your essay. How good of a fit is this person for our school? And then lastly, just make sure that you have at least one person edit your essay for spelling and grammar. The senior English teachers are amazing. They are really generous with giving feedback. I know many of you have gotten feedback from the T2 essay readers, which is great. Many of you have gotten feedback from mentors. So I think at least one person who you feel confident can do the spelling and grammar read. And also at the same time, I would really encourage you to not give it to too many people. Having too many cooks in the kitchen with your college essay can really change the message. And this is your essay, something you want to share. So I think, at most share with 2-3 people. Don't be sending this out to like 5 of your relatives. Because then, the college essay is sort of subjective. And so I think you want it to be true to you, get some good feedback, make sure it's a nice piece of writing, and then sort of be at peace with it. And then some colleges, as many of you already know, will have additional short answer or essay questions within their school specific questions on the Common App. And we call these supplemental essay questions. And if a college asks the question, why us? This is a super popular question. Most of you will probably have at least one of these. Be sure that that essay is really unique to that school. The best advice that they always say is the admissions officer should be able to remove the name of their school and still know it's an essay about their school. I really like that. And so do not, whatever you do, recycle these essays. Like your Y essay for BU and your Y essay for NYU should not be the same thing. They should be very different. And then tie some of your own, your own personal qualities into that essay as well. Why are you a good fit there? Not just why is the school a good fit for you? And then lastly, share something you haven't mentioned yet. If your personal essay is about a certain topic, don't write a supplemental essay about the same topic. Share something completely different. So right now, I actually want to take a few minutes to share my screen with the Common App because I do want to show you where to find these supplemental essay questions. It's not always that clear. And every year we get students who are surprised close to the deadline that their college has a supplemental essay question. So I am going to get out of this for a second. And hopefully everybody can see my Jane Doe practice account for the Common App. And so this is where I'm going to show you where to find the writing supplements. So the first example I'm going to show you is Dartmouth. So if you click into Dartmouth and pull up over here, these are the Dartmouth school specific questions. So these are the questions that only Dartmouth will see. And see, overwhelmingly here on the left side, you will be able to see that there's a section labeled writing supplement. So you click in there and clearly this college has some significant supplemental essays. So you have a 100-word essay, and then you have an essay of 250 to 300 words where you select the prompt and respond. So with these, it is very clear, writing supplement right here. One thing I do want to note is that for these, where the writing supplement shows up like this, you'll notice that there's two sections here for review and submit, review and submit. What that means is when you're done with your Dartmouth application and you're ready to submit this, you actually have to submit it 2 times. You will submit the first time, review and submit. And when you do that, they will get everything in this Common App tab and everything in these questions you will submit. Then you have to make sure you go back in and submit the writing supplement as well. So it is a 2-step submission process. That is really, really important to remember. So you want to really rely on those green check marks because you want to have 5 green check marks for schools that have their supplement like Dartmouth. So that's a more straightforward supplement find. So if we sort of took the same approach and say, I'm going to use Emory as this example. If we look over here on the left, we might say, oh, yay, there's no writing supplement for Emory. This is so great. It's going to take me no time. But then when you click into the questions tab for Emory, and you scroll down, check this out, writing. Yikes, a 200-word essay. What academic areas are you interested in exploring in college? And then another 150-word essay responding to one of these prompts. Oh my goodness. So if I hadn't scrolled down, I wouldn't have seen this writing, and this could have been an issue closer to my deadline. So what I would recommend is for each of your schools is clicking through each of these sections to see if a text box is there. Okay. Another example, the last example I'll give you, because many of you are school is UMass Amherst. And so again, you look here, oh, no writing supplement, yay. But if you click into questions, let's scroll down. Okay, I don't see anything that says writing. UMass, a text box. Please tell us why you want to attend UMass, 100 words. Please tell us why you chose the majors you did, 100 words. Yikes. So if we hadn't clicked through all of this, we wouldn't have found that UMass custom questions actually means writing. Sometimes the third sort of example of what can happen is sometimes based on questions that you answer in this general tab or in some of the other sections, like based on what start term you select or what major you select, sometimes that can trigger a writing supplement as well. Okay, and sometimes they would show up as that writing supplement on the left. Sometimes it would show up down here as another section. So I think, I know that was a lot of different examples, but I think the biggest takeaway is that for each of your school specific questions, click through each section to see if there's additional writing hidden anywhere, and make sure that you answer all these school specific questions well before the admissions deadlines.
And Ms. Hall,
Yes.
one question we have about that is, can you submit the supplements at a later date as long as it's before the deadline?
So the answer to that is yes, if it is the supplement style where like it was with Dartmouth.
Correct.
With this. So with Dartmouth, for example, if your Dartmouth application was, say you were applying for January 1st, your Dartmouth application was done up to here December 1st, sure, you can submit that. And then you could finish up your writing supplement, submit that December 15th or something. So the answer to that is yes, when in that format.
But not UMass.
Correct, but not UMass and not Emory, those examples.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, just going in and for each of your schools, answering these questions. Most of them are not earth shattering. You know, it's going to be, when are you starting? What major are you doing? Are you going to live on campus? And it'll also ensure that you know if you have a writing supplement for that school. All right, and so the last thing that I want to show you in my Common App here is if you click on the Common App tab, and then you click on Writing. So this is where you're going to paste your personal essay, your college essay. You'll see all of my colleges on my Common App require it. And you scroll down, there's also this additional information section on the Common App. And so if you click in here, you'll see that there are actually two places to share information. One is a COVID-19 disruption question, and the other one is an additional information section. Okay. And so I'm actually going to go back to my PowerPoint to sort of explain, you know, how you would use these sections. Okay, so the first one that I showed you is the COVID-19 question. That was actually just added last year. And if you select yes that you want to share about a disruption during COVID, then the text box appears. And basically this question is asking if COVID-19 had any impact on your health and well-being, safety, family circumstances, future plans, and education. This question is to be answered only if COVID-19 caused a significant change to your life, health, responsibilities, etc. It's not a place for you to share what distance learning looked like at Newton North High School. We are telling the colleges what that was like in the school profile. And, you know, a lot of students will not use this section. It's really, really reserved for those who had an extremely challenging, extraordinary, or unique circumstance as a result of the pandemic. So, you know, a lot of students will not use this section. They will answer no. So if you need help figuring out if you are someone who should use this section, do not hesitate to ask one of us. We would be happy to give you some advice. And then that second part that I showed you, the additional information text box, it's basically asking you if there's anything you want to explain that the rest of your application wouldn't cover. And so on here, you'll see some examples of appropriate things to put in that section, which is irregularities in your transcript, repeated class, skipped classes, something that needs an explanation. Any health stuff that you feel like you need to explain. So if you got a concussion and missed a bunch of school, an interruption in your education, did your family move away for 3 months and then come back? An achievement that's virtually unknown to people that requires an explanation. So sometimes that activities list, it's hard, again, in those 150 characters to explain things. So you could certainly elaborate there. And then also an explanation of something in your activities list. You can cover multiple topics in the additional information section. If you do that, it's usually good to sort of start with like a heading for the section. So like explanation of transcript, and then talk about that. Explanation of job, and then explain that. Explanation of, so just so you are being clear what you are talking about in that additional information section. This is not meant to be an additional essay at all. So do not paste an essay in here. That's not what this is reserved for. And you'll see admissions officers do say that the majority of students leave this section blank. So I think that's important to know as well. So again, don't feel like you have to use it, but it is there and it's a great way to explain things. It's a great place to, if you need it, to be able to explain things in your own voice.
And just to clarify, because there was a question about optional essays, you're saying the COVID question and additional information are truly optional. But if a college has a specific question that says optional, we recommend doing that one.
Yes, thank you for clarifying on that. Yes, those 2 additional writing opportunities in your Common App are truly optional, but a Y NYU, a Y UMass Lowell, no, not optional, even if it says it is. Okay, so we actually kind of covered that in number 3, but here's some general advice I'll leave you with your Common App. Just taking your time and being careful, being organized. Optional is not optional. Follow directions, the typos, relax. All right, and then some awesome advice from our beloved Jedi Master. Miss Garrity, Miss Hannenberger, any other questions in the chat that you think I should address out loud? Let me check.
We just got a good one. Can you comment on the use of acronyms? So like in the activities list, like shortening things.
So I think if it's a well-known acronym, I think, go for it. I wouldn't hesitate to use acronyms that are widely known. It's also okay. Like I was working with a student today who's in Dover Legacy Scholars. So after we used it one time, we used DLS, and that felt very clear to me. So I think acronyms are okay as long as they're, widely understood or then used as sort of a repetition of the longer words. I don't know if Miss Garrity or Miss Hannenberger, you have anything?
Yes, like NNHS, you could definitely shorten. They're going to know that one. But if it's some organization that you're involved with that only, it's not a national organization, I would definitely, write out the full name, maybe under organization name, because you have more space there in the activities section under organization name, but then in the description, you can use the acronym. And we have a good question. Do you recommend adding more activities in the additional information? So I'm assuming that this is if you can't fit them, if you have all 10 and you have more to add, can you use the additional information section?
The answer to that is yes. I think if they are high quality activities that you really need to have included, then it is okay to use the additional information section to add more activities. And again, you'll just want to specify what you are doing. So, additional activities, and then explain what they are. And then I see mentor question. How do you suggest helping your student with the Common App? Can both of us be inside the app at the same time or screen sharing? That is a great question. So I think, every relationship is going to be different in that regard. I think a screen share on Zoom is an awesome way to do that together. As a mentor, you can, that way you can see things in live time and do some editing in live time. I've also heard of mentors and mentees where the mentee works on things and then shares the Common App login with the mentor, and then the mentor goes in on their own and then gives feedback back to the student. That feels a little more back and forthy than a screen share on Zoom. I think that would be great.
And the preview function in activities, maybe you want to show that on your screen, Ms.
Sure,
Hall.
show that
It's a really nice way to see the activities better than all the different blocks because you can see them all at once.
So this is actually true of all of the sections as well, is this preview button that's up here in the right. If you click in here, this is exactly how it appears to the colleges. Unfortunately, I don't have that much in my Common App here, but preview.
You can also save that preview as a PDF and
Yeah.
email it to each other.
If you do print, I don't know if you guys can see this part of my screen, but you could save it. You can. Okay. Yeah. So you could save it, save as PDF, and then you could email that to your mentor. And again, like this preview button, that's how the colleges see the application. So, I think it's really helpful. Preview.
And then we have a question,
Mhm.
just really quickly, informal tutoring with a younger sibling or friend as an activity. Absolutely.
Mhm.
A sibling, it could be a family responsibility. That's a really important thing to include. It's actually a category in the activities section is family responsibilities. If you have chores around the house or you pay the bills for your family, translate, you definitely can, or interpret, you definitely can include that as a family responsibility. And then absolutely the activities, should the activities be in a certain order?
Mhm.
Ms. Hall, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's most important, and the activities where you've spent your most amount of time. So, something you've been committed to, for, I don't know, from grades 9 to 12, most weeks of the year, that should be number one. Obviously, that's something that means a lot to you and something you've been giving a lot of time to. The one volunteer event you did in 9th grade, that should probably be pretty close to the bottom. So there's no like certain way that's right or wrong. I think it's really looking at the list and thinking, what have I spent the most amount of my time doing and what has meant the most to me? If they only read the top 4 or 5, which hopefully they don't, but if they did, do you feel like they caught the most important things to you? What about after school jobs? Yes. After school jobs absolutely should be listed. There is an activity type for work, in parentheses paid. And so that would be paid work. Colleges love that. Shows a lot of responsibility and commitment. So definitely. If you're, I think for students too, if you're feeling like, I don't know what my activities are, if you even just go into the Common App, and you go into activities and you look under activity type and you just kind of scroll through here, you might get some ideas of like, oh yeah, actually I did go on that foreign exchange trip. Oh yeah, I am in band. Oh yeah, I did do math team. Oh yeah, like you might think of things. Oh yeah, I did do martial arts. So just kind of scroll through and really, really think about all the ways that you've spent your time. It's important. I'm loving the questions. These are great questions. All right, and now question, does the FAFSA need to be completed at the same time as application deadline for a specific school? No, the school will have a different financial aid deadline than the application deadline. It might be the same day, but it is listed separately on the website. So you should look for, if you're applying for aid, look for the college's admissions deadline, look for the school's financial aid deadline. Again, sometimes they are the same, sometimes they are not. But you will want to look to see what the specific financial aid deadlines are.
Yeah, maybe show the dashboard for that question about.
Yeah, so the question is, can you show the top level of the Common App that shows deadlines as they come up? I don't know if it's going to show my deadlines. It's
You have
not.
to fill out questions first.
You'll see like Elon, I put in, I was applying early action. So once you enter your application plan type, so whether you're applying early decision, early action, regular or rolling, that's when it will trigger the deadline to show up. So for Elon, that's showing up because if I go into my colleges, Elon, you'll see I listed early action. So let's do it for Clark just for the sake of showing you. If we go into question, preferred start term, fall, preferred admissions plan, early decision 2. Let's do it. Oh, so now I have a deadline, January 15th, 2022.
And Ms. Hall, to answer the second part of that question, you can sort, it defaults to listing the dashboard alphabetically, but on the right-hand side, you can sort it by deadline date.
So that's right here. 13 days.
Good questions, you guys.
They're really good. My gosh, it's almost 7 o'clock. So we will try to get these breakout rooms going. So just
Ms. Hall, one question that we actually missed.
Yeah.
There's an option on some colleges to submit a ZME profile.
Mhm.
Should you do this?
I don't know if either of you have an opinion on this, Miss Hannenberger and Miss Garrity.
It's definitely optional. It's, if you have the time to do that, you could. I
Mhm.
mean, there's,
It is quite a bit of work, and I don't think it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference unless you already have something going, or if you have
Correct.
4 of your colleges that take a ZME profile, it might be worth it. I'm not sure that I would spend the time and energy doing it for one school.
Yeah.
All right, so in your breakout rooms, we are hoping that you will do the following. So like we had mentioned in the beginning, discussing a plan for that early release day on November 2nd, if you're going to do a college visit. And if you scroll back to the top of the chat, again, that document is there to help you find those college visits. We hope that you'll take a second to touch base about the financial aid process. And if you both are discussing things and you're like, oh man, actually we do have some more questions, please send them to us so we can make sure they're included in the presentation. Next, just to discuss deadlines and the transcript request process. Again, because November 15th deadlines, those transcript forms are due this Friday. So just making sure that you know when your first deadline is. And then also talking about the status of the Common App and a plan to work on it moving forward. Because hopefully hopefully this was a good sort of start for many students in terms of getting the activities list going, and some of the other supplement questions. So we hope you'll cover those things that are relevant. And we will be in the large group, so if you need anything, we'll be hanging out. And we will close the Zoom at about